All right, everyone, thanks for coming out to this semester's Ken Reeves Memorial Weather Briefings. For those of you who don't know me, who are new to campus, my name is Jake Rowe. I'm the president of the Campus Weather Service. So you'll see me hosting these weather briefings along with my executive board when they are around. We're fortunate enough to have Rich Grumm give us the starting weather discussion of the semester, so I will let Rich take it away.
Thanks. I guess everybody is worried about the outlooks of this. We're here today, or it's lunchtime. This is what is this, the fifth? How many years is this Ken Reeves Memorial weather briefing going on?
I bet it's more than we think.
4 or 5 years.
Peace.
Right. Oh well. Anyway, yeah, I like the bicycle downhill. I'll do my best riding down. So it's been a long and wet summer. We'll do a quick review of the summer. Unfortunately, the Climate Center, their data lags by about a month, so it's hard to see the data from like July and stuff like that. But it's been a really wet summer. If anybody was in the Northeast United States or in State College, particularly, know it was really wet. It was so wet, my house literally went from tan to green. But I found a guy to clean it for $260, so it's tan again. But really, the humidity's been horrible. So we'll look a little bit about the summer weather and what happened here kind of regionally and locally. We'll look at the long-term pattern and its implications for the Appalachian State versus Penn State game. And we can probably, can we stop building arcs? Yeah. I had to buy a sump pump, my sump pump wasn't doing well. Home Depot was out of sump pumps, it's bad. Wow. Right? NSET model changes are coming, and the FP3, I don't think it's going to solve the problems we had. And then, of course, the short-term forecast, thunder and severe thunderstorm potential in Pennsylvania. To ride or not to ride, that is my question. Probably not. And then, if you really want to forecast heavy rain, as we'll see, if you want to forecast convection, your best bet is convective allowing models, although Sunday they were useless. So in central Pennsylvania, we had a really wet summer. Several sites, including State College here, set the record for the wettest summer on record. I think Altoona was one of the other sites that also busted past it. So Agnes was left behind. A lot of talk. I've read articles about this. Is this anthropogenic global warming, the impacts we tend to get more extremes? We're seeing maybe that tendency towards more extremes. So it's weather, but we seem to see more extreme weather. Of course, the droughts in the western U.S. and parts of Europe, the fires and crop damage in Europe because of lack of water, heat waves in the western United States and Europe. And basically, it was a pretty warm northern hemisphere summer to remember. And locally, of course, it was really, really wet and really. Most of the time it's been warm, although some of the rainy periods, as we'll see, the one in July that was particularly of note, we were actually in a cutoff low, so it was actually on the relatively cool side most of that event. And like I said, my house literally turned green. So this is just showing the temperatures look like in July. In the red zone, it's loading and unloading warm air parcels. You can see in the high Arctic, across portions of Siberia, all of Europe, Norway, and mostly North America, it was just warm. It was toasty warm. Some of the pinks down here in Southern California, across Africa, and up into Central Asia. And you probably heard about fires in the Arctic and places in the Arctic breaking 90 degrees for the first time ever, then doing it for 7 days in a row. So kind of interesting. It really looked like it was blue land on that map. And the average difference temperature month of June, you can see most of the central and western United States were ghosted out. Didn't look that at my house. But, were really warm, and the only cool spot was like in New England. And so in June, I was in here. I drove across the United States in June. My car thermometer reached a high of 106 outside of Dodge City, Kansas. Next to the biggest wind farm in America. It was right outside of Dodge City. But I got out of Dodge after a day. And you can see hemispherically, it was really warm. You can see the warm spots in the high latitudes of North America. It was the first half of summer has been pretty toasty. And then this shows June's moisture and rain precipitation. You can see we were on the edge in June, and the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area was making news of people having like 11 inches of rain in about a 3-day period and stuff. And of course, the droughts were really starting to get going in the southwestern United States. Of course, in July, the wet zone moved a little further north as the sun moved a little further north. I guess the warmth came up with it. But we got clobbered in July, and it wasn't that bad in June, although I wasn't here, so I couldn't tell you. And so far, if you live here, August has been no slouch. You have water coming up through the floor of your basement. So this is what the rainfall looked like in the enduring event of the 21st to the 27th of July. You could argue there was showers and stuff, rain in Pennsylvania on the 28th, but it was so small it wasn't worth talking about. But you can see this kind of north-south oriented band of precipitation that just kept coming up over east central Pennsylvania. And this is a zoomed in view, and some of those reds are like 256 millimeters, about 10 inches of rain. And broad area that was covered by at least 128 millimeters of rain. So huge area of the state of Pennsylvania to southern New York and across Maryland had in excess of 5 inches of rain in this 6-day period. Most of it came in the first 3 days, actually. And so this is what the pattern was like. This is the 21st, down here is the 24th, and this is these are like 12-hour increments. You can see that there was a big lumbering cutoff low stuck between a massive upper level high. 594 closed contour ridge, pretty strong ridge, obviously the heat in the southwestern United States for this period of time. And this upper level low, which really wasn't that intense until you got to the really low latitudes where it was actually significantly below normal, but it got stuck between these two massive ridges and had no place to go. And so that provided like a lot of mid-level instability. And here we go with this 23rd, 24th, 25th going later on. And it began to slowly lift out, but there was one less wave that would kick out up front. So basically it persisted for the better part of 7 days. I guess the first band of showers finally was here. It's radiant. And the southwest, of course, was really, really hot, and it was making the news about the 100-degree readings in California. And this is the moisture plume looking during the height of the event. And this is the United States over here, and this is this plume of subtropical moisture that came up. And the moisture was way above normal in eastern North America along the east coast, and this north-south kind of band with this plume coming up. And there were some indications there was a wave along the front, that a tropical wave that may have enhanced some of the rain around the 22nd through the 24th. And this is a more zoomed-in view, you can see this amazing baroclinic cell, really dry air, and then this strong gradient, but this is actually the moisture field. You can see there was a surge of high PW air that came up over Pennsylvania, and it just kind of persisted for the better part of the 6 days. And if you look at the winds, we had howling slightly southeasterly winds with that deep moisture plume, so we could sustain the moisture for days on end, and it worked out really well. So, and I have to make a mental note, make sure if you go away for like a month, you hit the breaker, that's actually the water heater, not the sub pump. So when you open the cellar door, it's like, what's that smell? and the dehumidifiers on the sump pump circuit. So that was a fun thing. It takes about 10 minutes to change a sump pump out, I found. So this is the GFS forecast of the pattern was well forecast, but this is the QPF, just showing a couple of GFS runs. And one run showed like maybe greater than 2 inches of rain in 36 hours over northern Pennsylvania. It had a good area of rain focused in northern Pennsylvania and had some rain off the coast. This was underdone by an order of magnitude in some places and the wrong location. And then this was another GFS forecast during the period there was event where some places had 10 inches of rain, and there's places that had like 1-2 inches of rain in central Pennsylvania. And in this particular run, it said it was going to be a maximum precipitation in the central Appalachians, way displaced from us. So the GFS knew there was going to be this frontal boundary, but the convective part it just could not get. And this is another run. This one was probably the best one. It actually had about a 30-40% chance of greater than 2 inches of rain right over central Pennsylvania. So it just had trouble with the rainfall amounts. So it had the right idea in terms of the pattern. It had this plume of deep moisture, but it was convective in the scale of the model, and it just couldn't do it. So basically, if you want to forecast this, you need to use convective allowing models, which was probably your friend today. But I don't think anything was your friend on Sunday. But it had a great pattern for the moisture plume and the boundary, just where the rain was going to fall and where it was going to be most intense. This model just couldn't handle it. And you had the low-level jet correctly forecast. I looked at about 8 different runs, and the signal was there, just couldn't put the QPF where it fell. So this is I have a loop of this. I don't know how much time we want to go into, how much time I'm going to put into this, but you can see this is the HER. I'm trying to get this thing in here. It keeps popping up. Oh, that got me out of show though. That was this. That little pesky menu come up. I don't know. Is there a way to get rid of this menu? Okay. So anyway, you can see that it actually had heavy rain pretty close to where it actually fell. It did a pretty good job. and it was in the 3 to 5 inch range. This was a respectable model run for a night where places at 3 to 5 inches of rain. And then if you go to the herd page and scroll down, they do a lagged average ensemble. They paintball showing the heavy rain from all the different. Oh, my phone's ringing. And spam. I get a lot of spam, and I don't even eat the stuff. So you can see this particular image shows the last 3 runs, their precipitation totals, and they all were forecasting over central Pennsylvania somewhere there was going to be a significant rainfall event. So if you look at an ensemble, it was pretty good. And if you looked at the HREF, and this is from the NCEP site, not the SPC site, the HREF also in short range with about 36 hours of warning lead time, I should say, it was forecasting heavy rain at least in eastern Pennsylvania. So these convective allowing models and ensembles did pretty good, but our large scale models didn't. So if you have enough forcing, you have the right conditions, sometimes we get a really coherent signal in these mesoscale models, but they just don't count on the GEFS. I think on Sunday the GEFS, I went back and looked at had rain on Sunday, like south of the District of Columbia, and the herd and the HRF showed some light rain in Pennsylvania. And I cycled through 65 miles of steady rain, sometimes it poured, and it was flooding. The water was like 6 inches from the creek from being on the road, and they had to close some of the road. So I don't think any model forecast that shallow frontal rain we had on Sunday. But there's some things we do good and some things we don't do too good. But this was a pretty good event. I think there was enough large-scale forcing that the convective allowing models did reasonably well, I think I'd say. So now back to more local weather issues, because that's why everybody's here. So we can look at the GOES 16 and the radar. Obviously, we just had a shower come through here. The GEFS, look at the longer range pattern, and for today we'll look at the HREF and the HERD. So this is what the satellite image looked like when I was preparing this. It was about 10 o'clock this morning. You can see big upper level low sitting here, and you can see there was a wave out ahead of along this frontal boundary coming in towards us with this big wave, and that was the first round of showers that was supposed to come through here early this afternoon. And I think it escaped. Way to go! So let's go 16 now. So you can see the upper level lows focused somewhere over Michigan. There is some in the dry area. There's some new showers developing, which I guess the whole forecast for severe weather hinges on the fact that we might get more development in the dry air later this afternoon and this evening. And you can see the real deep moisture plume that's currently over us. And if we switch to the clean IR, kind of messy stuff way out ahead of the main system. But obviously there's some kind of disturbance down here that's coming up. So we're probably going to get 2 rounds, and I think the SPC is kind of banking on the second round tonight being the one with the best chance for severe weather in our neck of the woods. If we go to the radar, but the radar's not going to help us much. Probably have to refresh this, right? It's not a very smart route. GUI. Pretty tacky GUI. So you can see the radar, the first batch of showers is kind of like just coming through us now. Not a lot of intense echoes in it. It's still in the 60s. In the 60s when I left my house, like 68 degrees. I don't ever want to ride at 66 of colder rain ever again without needing enough soup at a time. But so you can see clearly that there's showers that coming at us. And if we go to the Great Lakes loop, there are some hints that there's some secondary stuff developing in Ohio, so maybe that's our shot for the severe weather tonight. Now, where does this thing go? So we'll look at the GEFS. I can go back into presentation view. Right. So the GEFS, I guess this image is in the way, kind of indicates we're going to get into a ridge later in the month, early in September. That's around the time of the football game. So that verified. This is the GEFS ensemble. So it says we're going to be about 1.5 deviations above normal on that Saturday. The temperature is slightly above normal. And, where's our trough? But later, and basically next week we get into a ridge too. So I think if you go into the football game right now, if you believe the forecast for the change, it should be a pretty summery day. So if we escape out of here. I don't think that this is in yet. But we'll go to the GEFS PC. It's just bias corrected. We'll go to the US scale. That's where that image came from anyway. 12Z. 12Z is not in there either. But there's no 0 hour forecast because it's an ensemble and you don't have initial ensemble. But anyway, you can see there's this upper level trough that's coming through this evening. That's supposed to be our weather maker. And the upper panel shows 500 heights. And we go below normal at 500, at least, and we stay that way at least through late Thursday. And then the heights begin to rise. And I saw that was a loop of the EC and it showed the same thing. Kind of a ridge pokes through later this week, early into the weekend. But our temperatures are slightly below normal at the surface, as you can see in the blue below. And as we move into the weekend, we're still a little bit frothy, but nothing significant. And then we started getting above normal heights next week. And they tend to want to peak in the middle of the week and then again by the weekend. So it could be a warm, summery kind of day for a football game. I guess I'd wear sunscreen and a hat. Of course, I ordered netting. The flies and the mosquitoes are the worst I've ever seen them. It's really dangerous to walk on Scotia Range without being fully like in an armored suit. They bite through shirts. So that anyway looks, other than this week being in a trough, next week we're going to be in a ridge, so summer's going to make a comeback. Hopefully the humidity stays down. And we'll go back. So we're switching back and forth. So this is probably why everybody's here. Because, this is the 13Z HER showing sometime around 0Z, there's a line of convection is supposed to form actually over us and then really get organized with some Boeco-like structures, if you believe the HER, just to our east. Whether or not that's going to verify, I don't know. If you look at the temperatures, you'll see that the HER actually forecasts a little bit of a cold, which suggests there might be some sustaining convection with some strong winds. This was, of course, was the 13Z run, but it implies Boeing segments. And it kind of implied, depending on which version of the HER you looked at, or the HREF, sometime between 22 and about 02Z, it should rain tonight, and probably we'll have thunder, and there'll probably be some thunderstorms. So we start our bike rides at 6 o'clock at night, so I'm thinking I'm probably not game to go. So. Nobody ever should voluntarily ride in the rain. So I think, we'll see if the 16Z came in. We're setting up. No, just 15. So we'll go right to the radar. See what the radar looks like for the mode and I guess the timing. So it has the rain that was supposed to come through here on 16, 17Z kind of falling apart over us. And then it looks like things are trying to organize at 20Z to our west, back over the eastern part of the Pittsburgh County warning area. And it shows some isolated cells and maybe some linear structures by 22Z. And this thing looks like it brings a line of showers, mainly the stronger looking stuff. And this particular run looks to our south. Doesn't look that organized actually as the previous runs. And kind of shows maybe some Boeco looking structures, maybe some organization down over the southern tier of the state, with yet another line coming through, coming in piecemeal. It'll be a long night if you're worried about severe weather. You have a watch out. I guess at the weather centers, he will be working, just waiting. But it looks like most of the rain gets through us. By 5Z, it's pretty much, I think, over the big stuff. But it looks like this implies maybe there'll be some intense echo cores over us. So I don't think I want to be out on a bike between 22 and 0Z today, personally. So here's the HREF, and this is, especially he said you go control minus, right? Make it a little smaller. Make it so small we can't read it. So here's what the HREF looks like. This is at the NCEP site, and you can see right around this is 0Z. It's got a line of showers and some organized rainfall, over a half-inch rainfall coming right over us, right around. I think everything the same view, about 0Z. But it looks like, if you believe this is the ensemble mean from all 10 members, looks like any time after 21Z, there's rain just to our west. So, give or take spatial errors, probably by 21Z, you'd expect a high probability of some rain in the area. And of course, it brings a pretty strong-looking rainfall event right through us, which would imply some fairly good convection, especially to our south. Look, you can see the organization in here. And sometimes this works, and sometimes it doesn't. I'm trying the probability match mean radar. And the probability match beam radar kind of shows that first chunk that was supposed to go through is at 16Z, looks kind of messed up and kind of falls apart. Then it organized some stuff in southern Pennsylvania. And then it just, the HREF, I guess, there's so much uncertainty between the models runs that it doesn't really have any intense echoes in the mean for us, saying it just be like a line of showers and thunderstorms. It's not as robust looking as the HERF. Of course, this cold precipitation field really jumps in that. And I don't know if there's work, we can try the probability of greater than 40 dBs. It didn't load. When that doesn't work, you go to the SPC. Anybody use the SPCs? They don't have the 6 and the 18Z runs. Site cannot be reached. Huh. We got a dinosaur. It's a therapy. No. Uh-oh. Is that temporary us? That's nice. Oh, so we can't look at the SPC's version. Authenticated. We authentic? Excellent.
They can't see it.
Was it a
Yeah.
go?
Yeah, so they can't see it.
All right, we'll go back.
So, yeah, I can't actually connect back to the projector anymore.
Oh,
To connect on your phone, 9385.
we can finish up, I guess. $68 you can't see it now. And it had like a 40% chance of 40 dBs or greater coming out over Western Pennsylvania and Southern Pennsylvania this evening. This image I have is at like 0Z. So there's indications of some modestly strong thunderstorms in the HRF. It doesn't look as robust as the HRR, but then of course the HRF has 10 ensembles in it, and they kind of water things down with it too. You'd think there'd be a higher probability if we can have a good severe weather event for greater than 40 dBs, and it doesn't. So. And I'll just go to my summary slide. And I had a really bad pun, and I wrote summer, you know, the word summer dash EEE, summary, but you can't see it, so a wasted joke, but I'm laughing on the inside, so it's okay. But so anyway, we talked about how it's been kind of a warm, wet summer here locally and regionally, and it's been kind of really warm across most of the northern hemisphere. And you know, there's probably some signal here in the long term, anthropogenic global warming signal here, which, you know, we'll probably have warmer, wetter summers in the eastern United States in the coming the next 80 years. And it'll be hotter and drier in some places over the next 80 years. And the interval will shorten between big heat waves, probably. I think I did a study on the big heat wave in Europe in 2003, and then there was one in Russia in 2010, and they seem to be coming every 3 years instead of every 20 years now. So, you know, maybe we're seeing a new trend. Who knows? But State College, of course, has been really wet, and if you're going to forecast heavy rainfall, you're not going to do it with GEFS. You're going to, especially in the warm season when it's convectively driven, your best hope is CAMs. And looks like this is the forcing may not be that organized and focused. So this looks like the CAMs are even struggling with whether or not this is going to be a severe weather event or not. And they're going to come in piecemeal. And welcome back. I feel like I'm welcome back, Carter. What the heck is that? So I'm reading my screen, and it went to change screens on me. Pretty cool. I do that with no hands. And so locally, we're looking at the potential for some showers today, maybe some more organized thunder sometime between 22 and about 0Z this evening, maybe some locally heavy rain, right? If you believe the latest runs of the HER, the better chance for severe weather will be south of here. And we could get some thunderstorm activity or shower activity, at least to what we said, 3 to 4Z. And the trough's going to dominate most of the week, so it'll be on the cool side. And then a ridge comes in, so it warms up. And then next week we get really ridgy, so probably be warm next week. And right now, if you believe the GFSBC, the Appalachian State versus Penn State game, it'd be kind of a warm summer day. I'll be on a lake in New Hampshire. Any questions or comments? I can't show you anything.
Question?
Anyone have some?
Yes.
Yeah, I was curious if you think we're going to see anything similar to what happened in Madison in the backside of the system over, say, Ohio or Michigan today? Or is it just falling along too fast?
None of the guidance indicates that, but it looks like there's enough dry air. We might not have the wraparound moisture they had, right? Isn't that area rain that got there? That's that big blob that's kind of, they were on the colder side.
Yeah, it's in the backside. Probably didn't see Madison, Wisconsin got like 12 inches of rain yesterday afternoon, evening.
Yeah,
This west of that.
I have a friend who he's a former state college, a Penn State person. He was like, he was saying like, I saw they put the flash flood warning out, time to go home. Anybody else? Yes. I did not look very closely. A couple of the people in the front row kind of showed me some forecasts, and it looks like it gets to this, goes south. It's almost south of the main island now. It looks like most of the projections, I guess, in the forecast I saw and going by memory, suggest it could be a threat to Hawaii, but we'd be past the big island as it recurs. I don't know if it's going to get there or not. The water in Hawaii, you've been to Hawaii?
I know the water temperatures are about 26 C there, so it's certainly conducive to water.
Most of the time when I go to Hawaii, the water's in the 70s. It's like when the sun goes behind the clouds, you don't want to be in the water.
Yes.
Anybody else? I'm not an expert. I haven't really been following that closely now. Anybody else? Well, thanks for coming.
All right, thank you, Rich. And again, apologies for the projector issues, but we will have that resolved by next Tuesday. But this briefing will occur every Tuesday throughout the semester at the same time, 12:45 p.m. And next week, we're fortunate to have one of our new graduate students, Mr. Paul Mikolajchuk, who's sitting over there in the corner. So he will host the weather briefing.
Thanks, Jake.